What's good? Happy Friday, LL Nation. Lucky Lefty podcast. Starting it off, man, because I don't want you guys waiting any longer. Waiting for Malik to jump in any second now. Man, thank you guys so much for all your support. We hit the 1,000 mark with subscriptions, and we're just waiting for the review to get through the process so we can go ahead and allow you guys to partake in the process with super chats, man. Looking forward to every day giving you some great content. I'm amped about today because today we entitled today's show Biting Styles. Biting Styles. And today we're going to talk about the 5 styles or the 5 different ways that Marcus Freeman can catch Alabama. There's 5 different ways we feel like Marcus Freeman can go at this, and we have precedents from other coaches and other programs that have been successful in the past 25 years with building a program and ultimately winning a national championship. So, man, we're very excited about how you guys feel about what we're saying. And we're not too sure on which style Marcus Freeman is going to approach building his program. But one thing we are ecstatic about is the fact that things seem like they're going to be different with him saying he's going to be the lead recruiter and a head coach that builds the best relationship with recruits. So, man, shout out to him. We're going to talk about that. And when Malik gets on, we're going to start off the show talking about hitting switches because, you know, we always talk Notre Dame, but I have to talk about that NFL game from last night. Football is all about playmakers, man. And a great example was last night with the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes, they hit the switch in that fourth quarter in overtime, flat out. They hit the switch, was bumping up and down on San Diego, and then just took off on them in overtime. That's what you need, that type of combination offensively, whether it be a running back, wide receiver, 2 wide receivers, whatever it is. You need that quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back, whatever the combination is, you need that combination offensively that at certain times in the game can just take over. That's what we saw in the SEC championship game. Georgia went up 10-0 early in that game and seemed to be on the road to dominating Alabama physically. And then all of a sudden, Bryce Young and those receivers just took over the game. They hit the switch. Georgia had absolutely no answer. So, man, that really got me geeked. And I'm not saying Kansas City is going to win a Super Bowl by any stretch. That's not what I'm saying this morning. I'm just saying it's always great to see the ultimate answer in football. Like for years, it's always been, and still today in Tampa, but in New England, it was always Edelman, Gronk, Brady. They just hit the switch. Jacksonville Jaguars had them down. Looked like Jacksonville will be going to the Super Bowl with that great defensive team. And all of a sudden, late in the third, fourth quarter in that AFC championship game, Edelman, Brady, Gronk, they hit the switch. And the next thing you know, they're pulling off. So that's what great teams have. They have an offense, and they have a combination of offense that can hit the switch and just take off on you. And that's what we saw from Alabama. Actually, that's what we saw from Ohio State the majority of the year because the defense wasn't that good. Teams would be in the game, and then all of a sudden, Ohio State would just hit that switch. And by the end of the year, Ohio State was hitting the switch early in the first quarter, and the game was over by the second quarter. So hopefully, that's what we're going to see. Some type of combination moving forward with the classes they recruit. Well, we'll see Notre Dame get that combination of quarterback, wide receiver, running back, whomever it is, where they can hit that switch and just pull off on teams and dominate. So looking forward to that. Let's get to some of your comments, man. Shout out to everybody once again that's helped us get to 1,000 subscriptions, and the super chat will be coming soon. All right. I see everybody's welcoming everybody into the church house. B-Rock, you're right. Yo, this is a good day. Good day, everyone. Bowl season kicks off at noon Eastern. Today, followed by another bowl game at 6 p.m. Eastern. And yo, bowl season is like the ultimate. You remember that? You know that first day of the NBA playoffs when it's like 5 games throughout the entire day. Just start off the playoffs. It doesn't matter because you know who's going to win usually in the first round. But just the fact that you have basketball that means something, that actually means something, that's what today feels like, right? These bowl games mean something. We're going to get at that matchup between Pitt and Michigan State being a little lackluster now with Kenny Pickett foregoing the bowl game and Kenneth Walker III. Like the two best players in the game won't be playing. They'll be moving on to the NFL draft. And I wonder how much Kyron Williams' decision influenced Kenneth Walker III. I really do. I want to get into that with Malik when he jumps in. And also, Kenny Pickett, I guess I shouldn't be shocked because most people view him as the number one overall quarterback coming up on most big boards. But at the same time, oh, man, I think Kenny Pickett still has some things to prove. And Kenny Pickett, we know Michigan State's pass defense is porous. Kenny Pickett would have had a field day. He was going to have a field day in that game, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked that Kenny Pickett and Kenneth Walker III decided to sit out the bowl game. And, hey, what else can I say other than it's time to bring in my guy? My dude, what's good
We're
with it?
here. We're back at it once again. Let me get the light on better.
As always, we are brought to you and featuring Onora Whisky. Go to OnoraWhisky.com. Get some of that premium American whiskey only at OnoraWhisky.com. Man, what's good on the Dub Coast, my guy?
Another good day with Honora, another good day of Irish football. A lot of football news, keeping us
No doubt.
relevant, keeping us giving great opinions and perspectives, and it's a good Friday, man. It's definitely a good Friday.
Great Friday. Great Friday. Yo, week out from like Christmas Eve. We had a discussion. Let me ask you, man, because we talked about this on the radio show. Is it too late to buy a Christmas tree and put up decorations?
You
Like, what's
know,
the cutoff point?
I think the starting point is what people should focus on because
Oh,
really, you'll have Christmas stuff up until March in a lot of cases.
facts.
So if
Facts.
you, as long as you're not too early, you're really good. You got a long time frame. It's Christmas stuff be up longer than the NBA season. So you know what I mean. So you got to figure that.
You pulling the grill out for the spring. Christmas stuff still up in the crib.
Yeah, by the time you putting the grill up, you putting the tree up all at one time.
So are you a pre-lit tree or are you like a real tree guy?
I just stick with the little stuff. Like I got a little blue and gold tree.
Nice.
But I think the maintenance when you get older, it becomes more important and more valued. So
You know,
the smaller the tree gets, the older you get.
oh, keep that 100. So Lucky Lefty Podcast. I'm Shaun Davis at SD2 Mics. My guy, the original Lucky Lefty, Malik Zaire at Overtime Malik. Before you jumped on, I just gave an example last night of what I saw because we're talking about biting styles today. And we're going to
Okay.
go over the 5 programs that Marcus Freeman might be able to bite to build this program and get to the national championship. But I said it's something that's a key with every great team, whether it's college or pro. It's always great to have components in the back pocket that can hit that switch whenever they feel like it.
Yeah,
You
those are
watched
the
that game last night, late in the fourth and in overtime. Yo, Kansas City has a switch that nobody else in the AFC has, my bro. Like you could talk about everything else on their team, their roster, their offensive line, but when it comes down to it, if the game is close, they got a switch that they can hit, and that's what they did with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes in the last 9 minutes and overtime of that game. They hit the switch and then
I
pulled
mean,
off.
you gotta just appreciate stuff like that. They kept playing the replays after the game, And every time it was like, man, there is no more technique for defense. You just gotta run. These dudes is running the yard a route for 2 seconds, and they just start running around.
Right.
There's no way in the world that you can game plan on how to cover stuff like that. That's what makes them so different is that when they really want to, they'll start playing backyard football and good luck. It ain't no more cover two, cover three. No, it's man. So you better run and just hope you can make plays. And that's something that is like the Golden State Warrior three
Yeah.
point shot. When
Right.
they want to turn it on, they get hot. It's not too many things that can stop them. So it's great that at this point in sports, especially football, to see an offense like that because we're coming out of the ages of the 10-7 games, hard nosed defense and run the football. This is almost just as good, more entertaining.
Man, so let's talk about it, man. I'm excited about this show, bro, because in doing like the research and just kind of chatting about it. So here are the 5 programs that we have as examples.
Okay.
All right. Bama is the
Obvious.
first program Marcus Freeman can bite, and we'll get into that. This is the shocking program, Auburn.
Mm,
Auburn. There's a formula that Marcus Freeman in a path where they could bite Auburn to get to the national championship.
I like that.
It probably would be the last that I would want them to take, but we'll get
At
into
this,
it.
yeah, where the game is today, yes.
Yeah,
If you're referring to like be heavy defense, running the quarterback heavy, and that's a great style.
right.
But you definitely, I mean, Nick Marshall was a beast. Let's just keep it
Yes,
honest. Nick
no
Marshall
doubt.
was good.
So we like you talking like from Cam to Nick Marshall.
Yeah, like those two dudes are great. That would be a great piece.
Yeah,
But it would be also be the last piece, like you said.
like when you think about it, the automatic connection is like Tyler Buckner. Like, okay, yo, we got Tyler Buckner. I can see us maybe building things like Auburn. Auburn
Yeah,
consistently gives Alabama trouble, even
they
when they're
do.
not that good. So how they build their roster might be a path for Marcus Freeman.
But Tyler Buckner gotta really be have the mindset of I'm running for real. Like
Right, right.
because Nick Marshall was committed, even Cam was committed to running that thing for real. So
Third, Clemson.
okay,
You might be able
okay,
to like that style, right?
okay.
The fourth, which is the least, in my opinion, because the fourth is really a copycat of another one, is Georgia, right?
We're more close to that though.
Yeah, because we're more close to that. But Georgia is really just biting Alabama style,
Yes, they're
but
just their own
more
version.
conservative.
It's definitely not the exact copy version, but it's a lot of pieces from it. It's just Georgia style of it, I guess.
And then
We're more
last,
close to Georgia than Georgia is to Alabama in terms of how we're built.
yeah. So last but not least is Ohio State.
Hmm.
Can we bite their style? And then there's two different ways Ohio State was built. The Jim Tressel way, which
Mm,
is directly connected to Marcus Freeman, and we'll get
yeah,
into that,
yeah.
or the Urban Meyer way, which is more modern,
Yeah, it's definitely more modern.
more modern. And we'll get into like what's the backbone of these 5 programs and what makes more sense for Notre Dame moving forward.
Okay, okay. I like
All right.
that. I
So
like
let's
that.
get into it. Let's start with Bama, right? Saban takes over in 2006, right?
Okay.
He takes over. What's impressive with Alabama is not so much what was there in the cupboard from a player standpoint, but what Nick Saban brought with him. The most
Mm,
impressive thing about Nick Saban when he got the job was the staff he built,
yep.
right? You had former head coaches in college that were like the special teams coach. Like, think about
Mm,
that. Not only that, he had 2 associate head coaches,
mm, yeah.
right? So
Got
he used
a lot of structure in there.
Absolutely. And he used the associate head coach to attract coaches to take the job. Like you get that title.
He had coach recruiters.
Right.
Okay,
So,
I like that.
so I just want to go over some of the staff he had, right? So let's get to it. Joe Pendry was the assistant head coach and the offensive line coach. Joe Pendry was at that point in time was a legendary offensive line coach from the NFL ranks. In order to get him to come from the NFL, he gave him the assistant head coach title. So he used that to go ahead and lure him away from the NFL. How did he become aware of Joe Pendry? He became aware of him by coaching in the NFL.
Coaching at the league, yeah.
The short stint, right? Burton Burns, another guy with NFL experience, associate head coach, running back coach. Now, let me stop right there. You know who this sounds like? Let's start putting the staff together, right?
I got it.
Tony Alford comes over.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Tony Alford gets the assistant head coaching
job. Assistant associate head coach.
Yes.
Running backs coach.
And running backs coach.
Move Lance Taylor to wide receiver coach.
Perfect.
Now you give him a reason to come over with that title from Ohio State.
Because it's a step up from Ohio State. And it's closer to where Tony Alford wants to get to as well. So now you're talking about two black man head coaches damn near. Oh, we in 2021, man. They said not one, but two.
Right.
Now these two are really, really good because Alford is given the experience.
Yeah.
Where Marcus Freeman is given a refreshing face. The more narrative change and perspective change with athletes look at Notre Dame. But Alford also has really, really good recruiting as well. And that recruiting resume, he can tell a running back, I had Zeke all 3-4 years. What? Well, running back, getting $50 million like Zeke got.
Right.
So that's a good bargaining piece especially for a running back room that's so talented. I think we have one of the best running back rooms in the country.
Yeah.
When you look at top to bottom. Because any of those guys can start for us, and any of those guys can start somewhere else. And we got a bunch of 1A guys on the team.
So Jim McElwain was the offensive coordinator. Most people forget Fresno State was breaking all types of records out there on the West Coast because of Jim McElwain.
He was at Colorado State.
He was that offensive mind that was ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now this is the staff he puts together. NFL experience, right? That knows how to recruit, knows how to get guys, knows what the NFL looks like, can convey that to players and teach that on the college level. Then innovators like Jim McElwain, right? At this point in time, Kirby Smart, it's not even Jeremy Pruitt. It was Jeremy Pruitt, who was a very well-respected defensive coordinator, was over player development. This is the staff he's building. This is the staff so this is why we say January 2nd is so vitally important.
That's right.
And how Marcus Freeman begins to build his staff, because when you build that staff, everything becomes a culture, and now you can properly convey how to win on this level and how you can get to the next level. Not only when you get the players, but when you go into the living rooms trying to recruit the players, this is the same message that flows from top to bottom.
Yes.
It is very much a teaching program. Alabama is a teaching program. We're going to teach you how to be an NFL player and win games in college.
Basically.
And they create the staff that can do that. So structure. That's what Alabama won by structure. Now in the second year, Nick Saban, because there was talent at Alabama.
Right.
when you bring in structure and great coaches, that talent is elevated. Because now they're getting better instruction, and now they can go out there and play on the field above their heads or equal to where they should be.
Above the talent, yeah.
So we know what Notre Dame is right now. If Marcus Freeman brings in the right staff, you will see immediately, you will see more production from the same players on the roster.
From this, yeah, you would see production from the guys that are already there.
Yes. Absolutely.
You'll see the jump.
Yep.
For sure.
So Nick
and
Saban
you saw the jump with Kelly's jump was Bayless.
Yes.
You saw a way more conditioned team the next year, 17, that end up going undefeated. But yeah, I agree. You get a guy like that, it changes the jump of the player development. Then players see that, recruits see that.
Yeah.
They like, man, I remember him being here. He's here in 1 year.
Mm-hmm. You see the difference and how it resonates, not only in the program, but outside the program. So he goes 6-6 his first year. The next year, I think they go 13-12-1. They get to the SEC championship game. They lose to Urban Meyer in Florida. All right? They come back the following year. Every program has a class that puts them over the top. Every program has one recruiting class that puts them over the top. Let's go to Alabama's 2008 recruiting class. You want to hear what this class was, bro? They had 30 enrollees, 30. So they oversigned 30.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
It was ranked 3rd nationally. They got Julio Jones, B.J. Scott at DB, Mark Barron at safety, Courtney Upshaw at linebacker, Mark Ingram at running back, Barrett Jones at offensive line, Marcel Darius at D tackle, Chris Jackson at running back, Damian Square at defensive end, Dante Hightower at linebacker, Ronnie Lester at safety, Terrence Cody at defensive tackle, Andre Billingsley at defensive end. I can stop. Those are all NFL players. That's the class. That's the class that put Alabama over the top and started the run.
Quick.
And that was just that was really his second full recruiting class that he had a full year to recruit them.
And that has to come from structure because you're not attracting that many great players if they're not buying into what you sell them.
That means everybody in that program was relentless.
Yeah.
We're talking about best wide receiver, best offensive line, best defensive end, best defensive tackle. All
best linebacker, Courtney Upshaw and Dante Hightower. Dante Hightower is still playing.
In the same, how do you get Terrence Cody and Marcel Darius in the same class, bro? In the same class. 2 stud defensive tackles in the same class.
Sounds
the 2008 class is what put them over the top, and Nick Saban hasn't stopped. You always see him bringing in innovators, bringing in coaches still to this day that have NFL experience.
Yeah.
They fail in the NFL, he's not afraid to bring them back. They fail as a head coach at another program, Bill O'Brien, come on in. You can coach special teams for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Bide your time.
Come to coach's rehab, the coach's ranch.
Now you're back. Now you can be my offensive coordinator.
That's right. Now you got back in shape.
Crazy, but this is, man, he's all about structure, staff, teaching, program. That's what Alabama is. And you get that type of structure, the players will come.
The players definitely will come.
The players will come. So let's go to Auburn, and this will be quick. Auburn is basically, kind of like rebel forces, right?
Yeah, it's like the those child armies. It's like the one-off. It's like a spin-off. The spin-off show.
Yeah.
It's still good, but it's just the spin-off. It's the spin-off of Alabama.
Let's pick off. Let's just constantly be a nuisance to Alabama. Just be a nuisance to Alabama, and every now and then, if we get a special player at quarterback, a Heisman candidate,
Yeah,
and
it's
running
like no
back
matter how great Alabama is, Auburn is always built to get on their nerves
get
or
on their
built to
nerves.
make it really close. I mean, think about how Alabama played Georgia look easy. Alabama playing Auburn did not look easy.
No, at all.
Bryce did not look like the Heisman until the end in that one.
'Cause
So
it feels like playing people that you grew up with. It's like going to the park playing 21, right? You can have a kid that's like all city in the newspaper. He goes to the park and he can't beat the dudes in the neighborhood.
yeah, it is like specifically the neighborhood where he grew up.
Right.
And these two schools being so close, it's amazing to see how close they are in recruits. It's just some aren't as touted, but they're giving them games every year. I mean, maybe it's just the atmosphere or what the game means, but Auburn's definitely in the pocket of Alabama all the time.
Yeah. Question right quick from David Knight. Did Slick Nick have a big budget to work with? I don't know what the budget was when he began. I know his budget is ridiculous now.
Yeah, I know. I think once he proved he could win in 2008, and it being the only team in the state that's really celebrated,
Yeah,
it instantly became a professional team that when it moved forward, and now it's the hottest thing smoking in the state of Alabama. It's hard not to think that they're getting some private funds from somewhere.
absolutely. And I'm gonna be man. Does anyone not think that Notre Dame does not have money to spare
Oh,
for staff? Come
I think more people know Notre Dame is unwilling to spend it. We all know we got it, but I think more people understand that they ain't trying to just give it away either.
on. Let's so Auburn, that's Auburn. When they got Cam, they could get over the top of Alabama. They're always going to compete. Heck, Bo Nix beat Alabama as a freshman. And if he played this year, he probably would have beaten them twice.
Maybe.
If Bo Nix plays that game, he's a better quarterback than the quarterback that was out there. Let's be real.
Oh, TJ Finley, yeah, he's better than TJ Finley.
Yeah. So they probably win that game.
Bo Nix is like Sam Donald to me. He'll be quick and throw 5, 6 interceptions and shit. So I don't know.
Hey, he already beat him.
Yeah,
One.
true. Yeah, he can, but that's because he's on the right team. If Bo Nix was anywhere else, like he was at Louisville or
Yeah.
even a different SEC team, it wouldn't even be close.
Let me ask you a question though. Would it be feasible for Notre Dame where they are right now to go this route? Right? Because they've kind of been, in a sense, a nuisance to the college football playoff. And like everybody else that don't want them to get into the college football playoff, can they just go the route of getting that big time quarterback that'll get you over the top every now and then consistently just win and just be a nuisance to Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State?
Well, I think the problem that we fell into is that Coach Kelly probably didn't feel like he could sustain getting top quarterback year after year. So he just avoided it completely and focused more on the surrounding team of getting close. So that's why he was after a while he wasn't pressed about winning it because he know he had the formula to at least get there and be annoying enough in there to where people were talking about us. I do think the worry about committing a quarterback like that is that you'll probably face some years like Clemson, where if you have a stretch of guys like that and then you miss a year because one of the guys are off, you might suffer a year where you fall out of the top 25 and potentially risk your job. I mean, Gus Malzahn, once he lost Cam and Nick Marshall, I mean, he was scratching and clawing to try to get back to somewhere similar to that because if you think their defense was very stout, but it came down to them once Cam left, it was such a big loss for the team in general. That's hard to rebound. That's why it's hard for Miami to be consistent after Dan Marino's to this day.
I mean, it's a route that you can take
Yeah.
immediately if you,
Yeah. We talking about win now. That's a
yeah,
win now strategy.
if you get Dante Moore, somebody like that, then you can see it like, okay, maybe that's who we could be. But I don't think that's what Marcus Freeman really wants to be. I
I
think he
think he
wants,
want, yeah, I think he wants to go more of the route of the Jim Tressel area, the more of where he came from, and a lot of that is based from the local recruiting. Ohio State, when Jim Tressel was there, were the stars were locally recruited. Ted Ginn Jr., all the Glenville guys that had came through that time. He had Terrell Pryor, Midwest guy. These are at the time was the perfect fit for where college football was. And I think Marcus Freeman having such a stronghold, not only from the area, but from being there and seeing what it was, I think that's more probably a natural route for him to take because that's what he's experienced.
right,
So seeing some beefy athletic linebackers like Ohio State usually has, seeing some guys that fly around in the back end like Ohio State usually has, and being tough up front.
right.
I think the size of Notre Dame's football team will look a lot different than Kelly's era. It looked more like 2012 where we had big suckers all around the field. I think we'll get to a size more like that, but that's because it's more locally recruited and it'll fit more of the Ohio State. So now the quarterback is, you know, we don't have to have the best of the best, but we do have a team that can withstand a schedule like the one we have.
Now let's go to Clemson, the third program you can bite. Dabo comes in 2008 in the middle of the season. Tommy Bowden, he replaces Tommy Bowden. 2009, his first full season. And it really takes like 4 or 5 seasons for Dabo to get going. Man, even when they got 10 wins and got to the Orange Bowl, that was the year Pat White in West Virginia put 70 points on in the bowl game. So even when they were improving, they had embarrassing moments like that, right?
Mm.
So this is the slow build style of, building a program.
Taking
You
your
know,
lumps. I don't think Notre Dame Nation will appreciate getting
nah,
lumped up like that because Clemson
nah.
wasn't relevant at that consistent level yet. So I don't. I think it's like a tricky line for Marcus Freeman to toe. Is he? Do you think he has the timetable to be taking it slow and having a 6-6 season and having a season where you're getting massively dubbed out in the championship game? I don't know if he has the time to be able to do that, but I do
Right.
think having a Clemson type of route of building it from the ground up, I think he is doing that though, from recruiting, from how the team responds to him. The team feels like the in-house hire was the right move. So, from an internal standpoint, he's got the support. I think that's something Dabo had was the internal support from administration
Yeah.
and the team when he was there that allowed him to be to grow on top of that. So I think Marcus has a great foundation at school, like a Clemson, but just like a Clemson, it came down to that quarterback that made the difference in that stretch too. Taj Boyd to Deshaun to Trevor and us four.
So I want to get to that in a second, but you talked about something. The difference between Clemson and see Auburn and the style they use, they have a lot of volatility at the head coaching position and with the staff.
And with the players, because they
And
got
with
a
the
lot of
players as well.
transfers.
You
Cam
know,
Newton was a transfer.
yeah, when you build on strictly like just picking at the big team and just hoping you get the big time quarterback to make the difference, you can have that season and next thing you know, like the slope is going downhill. That
Right.
curve is not in a positive direction. And coaches are gone like 2 years later after they just won the national championship or been in the national championship game. When you talk about Clemson, the staff that Dabo built was younger, not as experienced as, say, a staff like Nick Saban had with NFL experience, but they were innovative, right? He had a relationship with Brent Venables. He went and got
Right.
Brent Venables, who was pretty much with the Stoops brothers, and learned that style of defense that was dominant for a long time. He brought that to Clemson, one of the best recruiters on the defensive side of the ball, also one of the most innovative and aggressive defensive coordinators. Like everybody wants to be aggressive defensively now,
Right.
but like Brent Venables was doing that like 10 years ago. when cats really just want to go cover 2, cover 3, have a strong front 7 and keep everything in front of you. Brent Venables was like, no. When he was at Oklahoma, I'm coming to get you. I'm putting more speed on the field, and I'm coming to get you. That's what he brought to Clemson, and that style became very attractive to recruits.
That's right.
Especially linebackers and defensive backs, and that's how they built up their recruiting class. So you talked about the difference maker. We know the 2 difference makers they got at quarterback. But for Clemson, their class that got them over the top, the 2015 class. It won't be as good as the 2008 class of Alabama by no stretch of the imagination. That's one of the best classes I think anybody's ever had. But they got Deion Kane, Mitch Hyatt, who was the starting left tackle for 4 years, Ray McLeod, who was a difference maker, Christian Wilkins, Albert Huggins, who you remember started in place of what was the guy that got suspended for the semifinal game against Notre Dame, the big defensive tackle. He got suspended, couldn't play. Lawrence.
Oh, Dexter Lawrence.
Dexter Lawrence, and Albert Huggins was the one that came in his stead. Cleveland
against
Farrell.
Oklahoma, right?
Right. Cleveland Farrell. Albert Huggins.
Albert Farrell, yeah, first round pick.
Albert Huggins. Austin Bryant.
Yeah.
Kelly Bryant. Tanner Muse, who started at safety for 3 years, and Amir Tapp, who was a good corner for them as well. Like I said, not as good as and Deshaun was the year before that.
Year before, yeah.
His full class wasn't as good, but they got him the year before and then stacked that class along with Deshaun, the difference maker. The next thing you know, national championship in 2016.
Yeah, that's straight like how it happened too.
So Clemson was about loyalty, keeping the young, innovative coaching staff around, keeping them together. They just had defections this year. We're losing both offensive coordinators, right? And Dabo decided to stay in-house to fill those positions. He didn't go outside the program. He stayed to the program, similar to Nick Saban. Nick Saban has always brought everybody up in that program, like Jeremy Pruitt, like I said. Jeremy Pruitt, he went and won a national championship as defensive coordinator at Florida State. Once he left Nick Saban's staff, then he went under Kirby Smart and went to multiple national championship games. So, look, man, structure is very important. That's why what Marcus Freeman does with this coaching staff is going to say a lot and go a long way to his success as a head coach at Notre Dame.
No, that's right, and that should be a staple that he sees as a strength that he focuses on, is that and not getting away from it, because a lot of times where I think a lot of these coaches go wrong is that they try to be overreaching on too many different things.
Yeah.
I think sticking to your laurels and being consistent with just being good at 1 or 2 things. Maybe it's recruiting, maybe it's being able to gather the team and put them and get them out there to come out with energy. Maybe that's just your best thing, and that's okay.
Right.
I think the more simple he keeps it, the longer he is afforded the time to put together the program that he wants. I think if he starts being a media guy, being a players coach, being a hard guy, being this and that, and this and that, it'll just draw him thin, and then he's not going to be able to put a good product on the field.
Yeah.
Because he's being a head coach, you know what I mean? So I think if he can only be good at 2 things, that's fine. Let him be good at the recruiting and building the staff, and then let that year play out how it plays out. You know, trust the guys around you.
Man, this is an interesting stat. The 3 recruiting classes that built the foundation of what Clemson is today, 2013 through 2015. You know what that average national rank was?
Probably the top 5.
No, 11th.
Wow.
That goes to show you. That goes to show you the importance of the coaching staff and the coach. Because it's like they got difference makers, but nationally, those classes were only ranked 11th.
And that staff stuck together too. Also, like they're a 10-year staff that stuck together. So
yeah,
you can see that they really had the formula together to develop these players. Because all at the peak of it, They had 4 All-American D linemen at one time with an All-American quarterback, and then, I mean, they really had it. What the peak could look like for us too.
So I'm thinking that 2013, Shaq Lawson was in. If I'm not
Shaq
mistaken,
Lawson, yep.
Shaq Lawson was in that 2013 class.
Dexter Lawrence, Shaq Lawson, yeah.
Yeah.
McCluskey.
Let's see. Let's go to Georgia. Georgia is just, a copycat of Alabama. Kirby Smart. That's where
But
he
it's
learned his
fast. It's a
trade under Nick
fast
Saban.
food Alabama because Kirby Smart got there and immediately start fast fooding the program to where they
Mm,
had a bunch of guys. You like this look like a totally different team with transfers and GMOs and it was built on a faulty foundation. That's why they can never take that step right
right,
now, and why they look so bad against Alabama is because they built on that faulty line. And so when you playing against an established program, Nick Saban just hitting that one card and everything falling down. And I think
right,
it's a process to get that next step, even though you can dress it up and make it look really, really, really good. Like Kirby Smart has done because he's been with Saban for so long. He know how to take all the best parts and just make it that. But he's missing that grandma's secret recipe that Nick Saban kept in the book in the closet that people don't really know. They be like, "I'll taste so good. I think I can imitate it." He
right.
like, "Nah, I know that secret ingredient." So when he pull it out, he be like, "Bam." It make the dish look so much better. And I
Hmm.
think that's just what he has over Kirby Smart because Kirby Smart just knows the fast food way of making that product. So for him, it's going to take a process if he's playing Alabama. Now, if he's playing a different team, he can get off a quick championship
Right.
and start taking that step. But if he's playing against Alabama, they got your number, man. They know the ins and outs of what you're doing because you fast fooded their program. So
Lucky Lefty podcast. I'm Shaun Davis at SD2 Mics with the original Lucky Lefty himself, Malik Zaire at Overtime Malik. Today, we are talking about the 5 ways that Marcus Freeman, the 5 paths he can take to get Notre Dame to the national championship. What styles can he bite? What programs can he bite off of to get this Notre Dame program to the ultimate goal? Last but not least, we have a dual setup at Ohio State. Jim Tressel. Now, this is correct. This is who mentored Marcus Freeman. This is who he played for. And Marcus Freeman wasn't part of the class that got Ohio State over the top, but he was probably the second best class under Jim Tressel.
yeah,
If we look at Jim Tressel's recruiting, Marcus Freeman was probably part of the best 1-2 punch
yeah,
ever in the Ohio State recruiting classes, especially kids that came from Ohio.
that's right.
The 1-2 punch that they had in that class was phenomenal. But Jim Tressel comes in, he takes over. And 2001, everybody knows the speech at the halftime of the Ohio State basketball game. You'll be proud of this team each and every day, and especially in 366 days when we win the game up in against those dudes in Ann Arbor. Everybody went crazy, fell in love with them. The cupboard was not bare. And so this is very interesting to me because I want to hear from the fans in the chat and I want to hear from you, bro. When you look at Notre Dame and you look at Marcus Freeman taking over, is this a situation where you say, man, the cupboard is full? Like he's taking over a roster that has the capabilities to win a national championship. What he did is that he went and got a difference maker. And it wasn't at quarterback, it was at running back. He went and got Maurice
Maurice
Claret
Claret.
in a short time. He took over and went and got Maurice Claret in a short time. And Maurice Claret was like everything that offense needed. He was the
Yeah,
home run threat. He was the pound threat. If you wanted to play physical and run the clock, he was everything they needed, especially with Craig Krenzel at quarterback. Because it wasn't like you were about to go four wide with Craig Krenzel. Because he knew the cupboard was full on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah.
Full.
I think that's exactly why I believe we should be more fit to that style of Ohio State
Mm.
Not the style now of Ohio State because we're just not a receiver based team. That's just never gonna be our tradition. I don't think Marcus Freeman is trying to
Well,
make that our tradition.
yeah,
I think we're right now we're constructed. If you're looking at the cupboard is full, is in that running back room.
yeah,
We need to be centrally focused on run play action. I believe with the run play action, it will really help and benefit Tyler Buckner because I believe he can throw. I don't think he was able to show just how well he was able can throw because he's doing different things. But I do believe a play action run game and also being able to run the football with fresh guys that can all be dynamic. We're putting hopefully if Braden Lindsey comes back, him and Styles and maybe uh, a couple young guys that we haven't seen that's coming in, Merriweather or something.
mm-hmm.
These are the way we can develop the guys around because now you sending guys on one or two routes. You're not giving them a bunch of things to read because you're probably going to be facing a one on one because of the running back stable. You're going to have more attention on Tyler Buckner because he can run the football as well. So you're really thinking about four guys that can touch the ball, running it, and all be dynamic. And then you go to the outside and you focus with your speedy receivers. I think that's the Ohio State that we should be built off of because the defense is going to be the defense. Ohio State's defense at Trustle's time was very stout, big guys, rangy guys. They had C.J. Barnett. I mean, the list goes on. Michael Bennett. So they got guys that are very, very good. But then you think about the offense and what they did. It was a game management. They had time of possession. You know, they had some impact runs. They was able to stretch out drives and close out games with that. With that running back room, especially that you started to see it what happened at Stanford. We looked more like Stanford than Stanford that game.
Right.
So I do think that's a really good trend for us to for a first year head coach to play it safe with, especially going into a hostile game like Ohio State the first year. That's the perfect offense to go in there with because it doesn't have to be solely dependent on Tyler Buckner making crazy third down throws or any situation like that. You can really get the team involved,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a hard offense to stop when you get the play action going wrong.
Yeah. So let's talk about these classes, right? I think Jim Tressel was very much Big Ten, smash mouth defense. Chris Gamble was a big man, was a difference maker. He inherited that could play two ways, made plays on the offensive side of the ball and defensive side of the ball, lock down corner, and could, stretch the field, take the top off the defense. His most important class in 2004, he got Ted Ginn, Marcus Freeman, and Vernon Golston.
That's right.
Like
And they all memorable people.
all memorable people.
Ted Ginn might have retired yesterday. You know, he's been playing for so long.
But he's still getting offers.
Still get off. You know,
He's
people
still
still
getting
calling his
invited to
phone.
camp. Still
Hey, just
probably running 4-3.
come and run a couple go routes in camp.
Man. And Marcus Freeman, people forget Marcus Freeman was a 5-star,
Yeah.
high school All-American.
I mean,
And
he look
then,
like a 5 star now. Like Marcus Freeman look like he
man,
could put on some pads right now.
shout out to his stylist too, because
Oh yeah.
he's up the style game of the head coach at Notre Dame.
He got that directory of all the nice things that you get to
Absolutely.
use as a head coach.
You know what I'm saying? They
He
lay out
got Shannon Sharp stylist because
cut
she
them
be
up.
sharp like Shannon Sharp.
Yeah. Marcus Freeman doesn't buy off the rack, bro.
No, not no more.
I think the previous coach bought off the rack. Marcus Freeman is getting his stuff cut.
He's getting his stuff cut.
He's getting his stuff cut. So even though they got those three guys, I still think 2006 was probably the best class under Jim Tressel. Doug Worthington, James Laurinaitis, Jamario O'Neal, Alex Boone at tackle, Malcolm Jenkins, Brian Hartline, Lawrence Wilson, who Ohio State beat Notre Dame out for a defensive end. Yo.
But I think that's what it is. I think a lot of these coaches be thinking that our linebackers are going to be like James Laurinaitis. That's not coming back. There's no more James Laurinaitis out there.
No, that thumper. Andy
Yeah,
Joe Schmidt
Joe Schmidt is not a James Laurinaitis.
No.
But I think that's what we were thinking he was gonna be.
Perfect example is Drew Tranquil, man. Like Drew Tranquil was a safety pretty much.
Was a safety,
Played
yeah, like
linebacker pretty much the last year and a half.
that's
And he
right.
was the smallest linebacker, but he is like the prototypical NFL linebacker now,
Yeah.
especially from a 3-4
And
situation.
the only way it happened was because he was a safety. If he started at linebacker, there'd be no way.
Yeah, I just watched a safety in New Mexico come to Chicago and become one of the greatest middle linebackers ever.
Who?
What you mean? Brian Urlacher.
Oh.
What you mean?
Oh, you talking about the Bears and shit.
No, I'm just saying. You just made that reference of seeing the field as a safety and
Oh
then moving
yeah,
up,
exactly.
being able to move up. That's why I think Sonny Styles is going to be really good because eventually I think Sonny Styles is going to be a linebacker, but he's played safety, right? That's
Yeah.
why Jalen Sneed is going to be great. Jalen Sneed plays
Jalen
safety.
Sneed's gonna be great because of that.
He played safety in high school at
Played
that
safety.
size and quarterback. He plays safety and quarterback. So now he comes to Notre Dame and he gets the teaching of Marcus Freeman.
Yeah.
Yo,
He's gonna be dangerous. He's
and
gonna be
they
like
move his
Jalen Smith.
linebacker. Exactly. He's going to be dangerous. So now let's go to Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer is totally different. His style, the way he recruits, the Urban Meyer recruiting classes, man, were absolutely insane.
Like
His best.
insane.
Now
Insane.
let's see if you remember because I think this was around the time. This might have been right after you got recruited.
This is Urban's at Ohio State modern.
Yes, this is
Oh yeah,
Urban's.
he had Mike Thomas, Zeke, JT Barrett, Bosa brothers,
This is his
Malik.
best class in 2013. All right, just
Oh,
listen to this.
13. I can tell you the whole 13 right now. They had Eli Apple, they
Yep,
had JT Barrett, Zeke,
yep,
they had Bosa,
yep.
they had Mike Thomas. Is Mike Thomas a grade above me?
Mike
He might
Thomas
be a
in
grade above.
2012.
Yeah, he was great above me. But they had Jalen Marshall, who was a beast. People don't
Yep,
even realize Jalen Marshall better than Braxton from a high school perspective. He was so good.
right.
Darren Lee, who was
Yep.
in the first round linebacker, a beast. That's my guy from Ohio. I mean, I know the whole class. I almost damn near went there. Uh,
Billy Price at center.
Billy Price. Billy
Yeah.
Price was in that class.
Now
He
Billy
was a
Price was
center
a defensive tackle that they switched.
that switched to center, and he playing the league for the Bengals right now. He playing
Yep.
the league. Who else? Um, those are for sure the league guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some guys that did make it, but there's some league. Those are the league guys. That's most of the class.
Yeah. Yeah. So the switch from Tressel to Urban Meyer was now you remember Marcus Freeman was on staff
Mm-hmm.
with Tressel. Then he went to Cincinnati to
With
Fickle,
Luke Fickle.
but he still was connected
Mm-hmm.
and was watching the Ohio State program because his boy Hartline was there.
Mm-hmm.
So now he sees Tressel recruiting to Big Ten football, physical, defense, and win with big plays with a couple of guys on offense, right?
Yeah, it's
Not,
like it's only a couple guys and all. Like we don't need um, the Kansas City Chiefs stars on offense necessarily.
right,
Because it's a defensive focused team, which is
right.
how I feel like we should be anyway.
That's closer to who Notre Dame is right now.
Yes.
Doesn't necessarily mean that's where Marcus Freeman is going to be in 3 or 4 years. But as of right now, Jim Tressel type football is where Notre Dame is.
We're best fit. That's our best way to win the most games right now.
Now, Urban Meyer is the one that rivals the recruiting and the staff that you see at Alabama. That style. Now, which
I don't think his staff. I think Urban Meyer has more of an impact as a coach on the team than his staff has as an impact. Like I think
okay,
Brian Kelly's staff had more impact on the program than Kelly did on the result of the team.
okay,
Urban has
good point.
more effect on the result of the team than the staff because the staff is like they got offered, they got some good guys, but you don't think I think more of staff when I think of Ryan Day. I think Ryan Day's staff is more notable on why they're
Mm,
winning than like, oh, they're winning because Ryan Day is just like Dabo or something. No, I think
right,
Ryan Day is a product of having a great system around him. Now he's got to maintain it. I'm not saying he's not good, but if Urban didn't just leave that all that greatness, I mean, they was winning Big Ten every year, like it's Bama Invitational, you know. So
right, right.
for them, for him to step into that and already inherit that, that was like Steve Kerr and Mark Jackson almost. So you don't
That's the
really
point.
know if Ryan Day is a great coach like those top coaches, or he just inherited a program that's just so strong still that we'll see what happens.
That's why that class for him in 13 was so important. People forget when Urban first got to Ohio State, he went undefeated his first year.
Yeah,
But they couldn't go to a bowl game because they were under sanctions, from the Terrell Pryor stuff
yeah.
under Jim Tressel, which eventually got Jim Tressel fired.
That's what, and that's when I decommitted from Ohio State. Because when I
So
got there, Urban offered everybody. I was the only quarterback offered with Tress when I was about to go. This is my sophomore year. All the stuff would happen. Urban came in and offered JT Baird, Mitch Trubisky, offered like 6,000 other court. I was like, who is this guy? You know, who is this guy? So I was like, forget you, I'm going to Notre Dame. And then that's my Urban story.
man,
And
that's crazy.
it's funny that the punter story came out about Urban because I'll never forget when I visited Ohio State when he first got there because I was the quarterback recruit. So it was like, come up, meet Urban, this and the third. And I walked on the field because Cam Burrows was the first commit at Ohio State, and he was from where I was from, 5-star safety at the time. Urban was like, I walk on the field, this is that practice. And he's like, what would you say what would you do if I kicked your ass right now? That was the first thing he said. First thing he said to me, what would you do if I kicked your ass right now? I was like, I don't know, I wouldn't let that shit happen. And basically he was saying it like those are the type of guys I want, guys that I can't kick their ass, they gonna fight, they gonna compete, that type of thing. So when the story of the punter came out, I'm like, I can see it, I can see him saying that shit or doing that shit for
Right. And
real.
he had a purpose to it in his mind. But when
Yeah,
you
like
look at the
I can
league,
see how it didn't come out right because when he
yeah,
said it, it didn't come out right to me either. I said, is he like, did he want to like give me a scholarship if I could fight him or beat him up? It was just weird because he's so, from what you think he is, and then
yeah,
when you meet him, you'll be like, oh, this is Urban Meyer. But then he says some stuff like that. You like, oh, who is this guy? Like, is he serious? Like, you don't know if he's serious because he's such
right.
a prolific figure. So I definitely laughed when I saw the punter story, but then obviously people gonna take it all type of ways.
Yo, that's a crazy story. So when you talk about Tress, you talk about Urban Meyer, what exists at Ohio State under Tressel, which is more connected to Marcus Freeman, and possibly what a lot of fans would like to see, which is stacking up tremendous top 5 recruiting classes and just overwhelm people with talent and difference makers on both sides of the ball. We would love to see Notre Dame get to that. And if they can line up difference makers on offense for the 2023 class, that's the type of class that could be walking into Notre Dame next year.
100%. I think Marcus Freeman got the great blueprint. I don't think he's not prepared for this situation. I think he has an idea in his head. Maybe it's not communicated just yet, but I think the staff kind of knows the direction. And like again, I think moving forward is important because more
Yeah.
focus should be on the result of his guys he brings in from a coach's and a player standpoint.
Yep.
And around year 2 or 3 is where I would genuinely try to evaluate uh, my my feelings on if he's doing or trending in the right direction. Because right now he's still getting the leftover food almost.
Yeah. The average from the 5 teams, the recruiting class that turned everything around or got the class over or program over the hump is about 2.5 between
Mm-hmm.
the second recruiting class or the third recruiting class. That's the recruiting class that becomes the ultimate recruiting class and getting that program to elite status.
That's right. That's right.
Man, I really believe 23 can be that class, but like you said, history tells us it probably would be 24.
Right.
Like
23 is gonna have some good ones.
Yeah,
They'll
23
have
could
some.
be good. Let me ask you a question. The 2008 class for Bama or the 2013 class for Ohio State? Which one was better?
I'm gonna say the 13 because I'm an offensive guy. I think they had better offensive guys in
Yeah.
13 than 08. And just because a lot of those 13 guys are playing now. Zeke
And
playing now, Mike Thomas playing now, Billy Price playing, Taylor Decker playing now. So
yeah, that 2013 class banged Alabama too.
straight up, banged him. Zeke
Banged.
had almost 300 yards. Like that's never ever happened on Saban to this day since then. So
That might have been the class offensively that got Nick Saban to say, you know what, I
I
can't
need
play
Tua.
the same way.
Well, he ended up getting Jalen that the year after, or was Jalen? No, yeah, he got Jalen the year after. They had Blake Sims that year.
Right. So let's get to some of these comments, bro, before we hit the petty train. Here we go, Matt Anderson. Guys, why would Alfred come to Notre Dame? I'll definitely let you answer this one. What would his job be? Isn't he the assistant head coach at Ohio State? That would be a downward move for him, even though he might like Notre Dame.
I love Coach Alfred. He doesn't feel like people like Notre Dame wants him there. So maybe it's a fan thing, maybe not. But I believe that that's a great move for us because, like you said, we talked about him gaining that title of assistant head coach. I think that would mean a little bit more to him coming from where he's at and seeing just the future of where programs are. I think we have a brighter future under Marcus Freeman and Ryan Day, especially with him accepting slash denying the rumors of him potentially looking for another job. Like at this point, whenever they deny it in a press conference, it just means they're going to take it at a later date, what it turns out to be. So for him, if I'm Coach Alfred, I want to stay in college football relevancy. I think getting on this startup over at Notre Dame is going to potentially hit that marker where we get big. So uh, I do think that when you're going from Ohio State to Notre Dame or even vice versa, I don't think there's any step down.
Yeah.
I think it just incrementally get better at the time, just depending on what's going on. So I think Coach Alford is stuck between a good place and a great place. So um, either way it goes, I do think having him will benefit what we're doing moving forward.
Let's see, FR David Penny. I love to see Alfred, but is that a real possibility?
Shoot, with the right price and if Ryan Day leaves and some things shake out, then yeah.
Ryan Day is definitely getting at least 2 interviews.
At least.
At least.
And being the favorite in those interviews.
Drunk Vigo says, man, it is possible. You got to speak it into existence. Well, we're definitely doing that. Right?
You on that. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be part of or will be part of the Justice League of Recruiters at Notre Dame, coined by the original Lucky Lefty himself. You going to see Spider-Man this weekend, bro?
Oh, you already know. I don't want to go with the hype because you can't hear a lot of fanfare going on. I want to go on a matinee. If you don't even know that, matinees is where you got to get to.
Man. Speaking into existence, Jermaine Berkeley said, one day I'm going to write for the Lucky Lefty mega website. Hey,
we need some writers. Look,
let's get it. We're looking for writers. We're definitely looking for writers. Let's
call
get
it the Black Athletic.
Yo, let's get it. Anthony Solomon says, I love how ND is irrelevant, but fans around the world visit our ND boards and podcasts. I don't visit any other team's site or podcast. I believe blue and gold. Shaun and Malik are awesome. Shout out to you, Anthony.
Man, shout out to you. We're gonna touch on everybody else's teams, but we center focused on that Notre Dame over here.
That's it. Drunk Vigo is laughing. You called Alabama's like coach's rehab.
Hey, like, oh, come on to mama. Mama gonna get you nurse back to health, get you another job somewhere.
Going back to what we're talking about, the importance of staff. Jermaine Berkeley says, I think ND should build staff as they did the last couple of hires. Hire their own staff independent too. who's the
Yeah,
head
it's like,
coach.
you dip your head in that coaches pool. It's like you get a little bit of too many used coaches. I want to. It's like we go in a blockbuster and getting all the previously owned movies. I want to get them fresh discs out of the red box or something.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the coaching staff. For me, I would love to see NFL representation.
100%.
Especially that offensive line coach. Any good program has a really good offensive line coach and a really good defensive line coach. Like because
Exactly.
Tony Alford's there, but people forget and they sleep on um, Coach. Oh man, he was the defensive line coach at Penn State. Moved over to Ohio State once Urban got there. Anderson.
Oh yeah, Coach Anderson. Yeah,
So yeah, older brother, but man can recruit his tail off, relentless, and is a great teacher.
great
Is a
teacher.
great teacher, you know, and he's probably going after the same guys that Mike Elston is constantly going after every year.
That's true too.
Let's see. So Harry, look, you've been on top of the mountain screaming for the last 2 weeks. Get Harry Heastand back involved in this program. And we talk about players and their play being elevated immediately. If Harry Heastand is part of this staff, you'll definitely see the difference in the offensive line.
100%. That's probably the first thing. You're gonna see a more tight knit group. You're gonna see them traveling packs like elephants around the city, around campus. But you're gonna get that product that we've been so accustomed to is these Hall of Fame guys coming out of each year.
Let's see. Matt Anderson has a question. Does Indy have a bunch of analysts? I thought heard once that Alabama has like 20 analysts or something doing God knows what, not coaches, just analysts.
You know, Alabama's more like a syndicate. It's got many different networks and arms that you probably don't know about, many different things in the works because the state is all about that team. So you don't know what's going on out there. With a place like any other populated city, is too many different things going on, so it's not as focused. But you got a fortress at Alabama at this point, a dynasty, whatever you want to call it. It's something that's well built machine that has many parts to it. So at this point, it's probably super complex what they have over there.
Yeah, that's facts. Michael Johnson, Shaun Malik. I think BK was a lazy recruiter. He seemed to have that closing mindset, but recruits.
I don't think he was lazy. I just think he was set in where he knew he could go. He knew he could hit that button 10 times, he's going to hit it. He ain't going to be fancy with it. He's going to stick to the formula. And obviously had a plan. He wanted to get that winningest coach of all time, the ultimate leverage, and get paid his money. I mean, you can't deny a guy that can pull that out. That's the trump card right
I've never seen a class, because this has probably been the most vocal class because of the situation surrounding Brian Kelly leaving and Marcus Freeman coming in. This has been the most vocal class from Tyson Ford, his mom, Jalen Sneed at his press conference, uh, Josh Burnham for
there. Hmm.
sure, and a couple of other players. I think it might have been Jaden Mickey as well during his press conference. All of them said, "Dude, we didn't talk to Brian Kelly."
Yeah, I mean, but they should have known that. That's not no secret thing.
But I mean, that's not a good look, man. That's not getting you to the top of the mountain with the
But
head.
nobody committed to Brian Kelly for Brian Kelly. They committed to the situation, which is why Brian Kelly didn't care because he's like, I know you're gonna come because of what I'm building, not because of me. I ain't even gonna talk to you.
Yeah, but let's keep it real. Jalen Sneed committed to Notre Dame because of the relationship that Marcus Freeman had with his head coach
Yep.
going back to Ohio State and the head coach growing up with his wife, when they were smaller.
I
Relationships
mean, yeah.
matter,
Hmm.
especially for big time recruits.
That's
They
right.
matter. And when
If you
you're
got if you got family ties like that, man, that's you know, you just gotta cultivate it at that point.
man, you have to cultivate these relationships for these 5-star guys. If you're going to get the difference makers, you might have to rub a couple of backs, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Let's
I
see.
think we should have a fund, since the NIL thing is here. I think we should have a 5-star fund. If we really, really want to get a 5-star, we can drop a bag off, to make it more enticing. But at least be open about it. I think if the difference between why I don't think Notre Dame would be like that, like a Bama and a Georgia is because we wouldn't be open with it, and and because of that, Notre Dame is like, well, we don't want to take that route. We got to sneak around because we don't want that perception. But if we were just to professionally do it and have like a fund that alumni can donate to for a 5-star fund, and we just openly use that to pay players or whatever, I think we could. That's when we would start using that endowment we talk
Michael Johnson has a question. I think ND is farther ahead of Clemson when Dabo took over. That
about. I
model,
think so because Dabo be talking too crazy in the media, man. I think some players probably be like, you know what, we have to reevaluate this man Dabo because he be talking crazy with these crazy hot takes.
and some people might disagree with this. I remember having this conversation with my dad. I remember in the days after the murder of George Floyd, and Dabo had some comments, and I told my father, I said his next 2 to 3 recruiting classes won't be the same.
Yeah,
Just behind that,
yeah, like
like,
he be
and I never
because
had
the
a
thing
problem.
is to be
Go ahead.
such a player's coach and
Yeah.
then to be so tone deaf around the team of what you coaching, it
Yes.
don't matter. It's like Drew Brees when Drew Brees said that crazy thing like his grandfather was the only person to fight in the war or something totally tone deaf for the situation. He
Yeah.
was terrible the last 2 years. No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's why, but I mean, when you that tone deaf in uh, a predominantly stronger community than the other, it's like, man, like I don't know if you really genuine at that point. And I think that's why I say we're trending in the right direction. I think people feel Marcus Freeman's genuineness and authenticity. They're
Hmm.
questioning Dabo's genuineness only in the sense of that he's so tone deaf every time. He never goes into none of these conferences where he says something one off and be like, I apologize or I misspoke. It's always doubling down, always some tone deaf, like he just
Yes.
don't get it. But but then he'll turn around and be like, players this, players this, education this. So I'm like, what type of coach are y'all really dealing with in Clemson?
It's yo. I knew it. Like when he made those comments, I said, yeah, next 2 to 3. That's why this year I think they were ranked 13th.
Yeah, ain't nobody feeling that.
They've been
Yeah, ain't
top
nobody.
5. They've been top 5, and then they go to 13, which is crazy. So I think next year might be the same way. Like you can't, and dude, we're not here to debate politics. That's not what we're doing. But like you said, you've been in that locker room. Your head coach can't be tone deaf.
But you see,
Or either.
Coach Kelly's so funny because he gonna go out there and march with them boys.
That's exactly what he did. That's
Coach
exactly what
Kelly, Coach
that's
Kelly
exactly
gonna
what
go.
Brian Kelly did.
Coach Kelly is never gonna break character. If that's where things is trending, man, you might catch Coach Kelly with an autobiography of Malcolm X on his desk. Hit you with the hit you with the, he'll go to the press conference and get the, it's really insightful. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We need to change the times. He gonna do because it is funny because he's gonna do that, but when you go home, you wouldn't think that he's all for it. He ain't gonna. So I do appreciate that Coach Kelly's gonna stay PC with whatever's going on. That's why he go down to LSU with the accent and he in the videos. What
All of it.
if that's what it calls for, he gonna do it. If it calls for Dabo to make an apology that everybody know that you may not really mean it, but you gotta say it, he ain't gonna do it, and
No.
that affects recruiting.
Yes.
Coach Kelly's been consistent for 12 years because he stayed PC for 12 years. He don't care if you talk stuff. He may do something funny. He ain't gonna speak on it in no negative way. He gonna keep it general, just like he when he left.
Yeah.
Hey, I got you guys here. I'm glad I got the chance. Now I'm gonna move on. You gotta laugh at that
Like you said, man, as a head coach, read the room, man.
stuff.
Read the room. David Knight, other than Jake Fromm and Stafford, who has Georgia really had at quarterback, and Jake wasn't that great.
I don't think Georgia wants to be great at quarterback. That's not they like MO. You know,
Eason they had Eason, who was a big time recruit. He got hurt and lost his job to Jake Fromm.
Aaron Murray was the guy.
Aaron Murray was nice.
If
He
you
was
had to
nice.
think of like the last quarterback that has some hot relevancy news behind him, Aaron Murray was the guy in Georgia, outside of Matthew Stafford. Other than outside of those two guys, Georgia hasn't been trying to succeed the most with through their quarterback.
I mean, they had a difference maker. They just chose Jake Fromm over.
Look how they did. You would. I don't think Justin Fields has the same career he stay in Georgia.
No.
He would be worse off than Jalen Hurts because remember Alabama got the formula, and if anything, they would have did Justin Fields worse than Jalen Hurts because they don't know exactly how to do it. So him going to Ohio State was the best move he ever could make. I forgot damn near he went to Georgia.
Man, that's interesting. Like, when you look back, you talk about your interaction with Urban. You had committed to Ohio State, and the class that came after you, all of those offensive weapons. Do you ever think about yourself in Urban Meyer's system?
Man, I just didn't like the guy. I felt like when Tressel left, I just felt like I left. Like he was like, man, I can't go back home. That's my dog, man. I love Tressel. But with Urban, I just didn't like the dude. So I knew that we had the same type of offensive weapons at Notre Dame at the time. I mean, we had Greg Bryant, Tarian, and then offensively we had some great receivers. At that time it was James and Corey Robinson was there, and so we had some guys and Will Fuller. So I said, okay, I'm straight over here. And with the effect that Notre Dame has, I was like, we're in a good spot. But obviously, looking back, it would have been smarter hindsight to go to Ohio State because who knows what the hell. Me and Zeke, that would have been crazy.
You and Zeke in the backfield, yeah.
That would have been crazy.
So that would be you against Alabama because JT got hurt.
Yeah, JT wouldn't have been JT,
I'm assuming you would have been able to beat out
There was nobody. It was just Braxton, and Braxton at that time was transitioning receiver, and I felt like I would have been playing earlier because he would have been playing receiver earlier. And then Cardell was there, like, come on, man, I can be Cardell.
Yeah. Let's see. Steve Williams, with the coaching style program setups, my view is that Freeman understands connections and rely on leadership. I'm actually very excited to see what he does with the staff after January 1st. I am as well. I'm fired up to see the direction he takes to building the staff. I would love to see him take the Alabama approach and get some NFL representation and get Harry Heastand back and go get Tony Alford and
I think Coach Freeman has the personality that he can take a Bama route. I think he's respected enough, but also relatable enough. He's more relatable than a Nick Saban you look like you can make a tackle. You know what I mean? But he's also respected on the coaching side where players aren't just being like, oh, that's just Coach Freeman. Da, da, da. I think they see value from what they can learn from him. And he's a great leader. I mean, I think, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Eugene Williams says, say less, y'all. Freeman be clean. Board of Health clean. Yeah. I need to
shoot, even Tommy getting his little swag up.
I see that.
You see Tommy ain't rocking the sweatshirts all the time too. Tommy said, "Okay, them PJs require different clothing attire. I can't just be hopping on anything."
Yeah, Searching Green 9 said Junior Tula Amaka is a thumper. Don't say thumper like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. He also is a running back and a fullback and has sweet feet. He's not your
Yeah, that
typical.
last name is a thumper though.
Yeah,
For whoever got to say it every week on the cast.
man. So it's like I love thumpers.
Because
No,
you said it smooth. I don't even think you said the name for real. I think you just was like, all right, I'm gonna,
no,
we get
I'm
it.
gonna be honest, man. I've I've heard Brian Driscoll say it a lot,
Yeah,
and just listening to him say it,
straight
finally
up.
now I know how to say it.
Yeah,
I don't even look at
yeah,
the spelling because if I look at the spelling, it'll mess me up.
yeah.
Now,
Because the U's start looking like the M's, and
right,
it look like it's double, and you like,
right.
man, all these straight lines in this name, man. I
So
can't do
now
it.
I listen to him and just repeat it, and it's like that.
Straight up.
Let's see. Another one from Mark Applegate. Do you think we have that now with the running back crew and the wide receiver recruit with Tyler or Drew at quarterback? Good question. Thanks for chiming in, Mark. Beautiful family, by the way, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it'll. I think we'll be closer to know if we have that at Oklahoma State. Is how are they gonna use Tyler? How they use Jack? And how is the offense going to look now that Tommy really has all the authority on the offense to run it how he wants? That's going to set the trend of should we be worried in spring or do we feel good going into spring? Or do we need to hit that transfer portal or is Tyler Buckner going to be enough to take on Ohio State next year? So,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of questions will be answered at this game because it's still enough time between now and the game, and then now is the game in spring. So I'm excited to see that transition after that.
Can Notre Dame really win being run heavy in these times without having like
The defense got to be Georgia's type of defense.
so he has to build the defense up, which bodes well for the 2003 recruiting class. Like if he's going that direction and just stacking these defensive classes.
I mean, we got about 10 linebackers on the roster. It feels like.
Especially, this might be one of the best linebacking recruiting classes in the nation.
Yeah, we got like strictly more linebackers and D linemen down there.
And like we said, they're versatile. These aren't just like this guy's an outside linebacker, this guy's an inside
safety,
linebacker.
Middle, nickel.
No,
everybody, like, yeah.
Man, we could throw him at Rover. Matter of fact, third down, we could put Jalen Sneed is coming off the edge.
It's like the NBA. We got we switching everything.
Yeah.
We switching everything.
Anthony Solomon says, if you don't open up the passing game, it will be very difficult to recruit an elite quarterback and receivers. Now that is something Marcus Freeman is definitely going to have to think about and lean on Tommy Reed. But
this is the difference, though. We got Notre Dame. That's a top 5 program. So you're going to get an elite people that are inquiring. It's not like the top 10 quarterbacks in each class are like, Notre Dame, I never. No, they always like, okay, if Notre Dame come my way, I'm going to look. And you're going to, if you play half as good at Notre Dame, half as good, you don't even have to be great. If you play half as good, you start, you're gonna be right in the spotlight for the NFL just because of where you're at. And if you're winning where you're at with the scheduling, you making your bed just right to lay in it.
All right. Get to some other stuff right quick, and then we'll get out of here with the petty train. People are really debating about Ohio State, man, and Urban. I agree. John Cooper did a great job recruiting. He just couldn't win the big games. He was like Brian Kelly before Brian Kelly.
Straight up.
Like he had recruiting classes, but Ohio State could never get over that hump under John Cooper. And he couldn't beat Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, shit, Urban beat Michigan for 10 years straight or something like that.
Hey, Ryan Day had been smacking them.
Yeah, then Ryan Day got in on some of that, but I don't know, maybe that winning got too old or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Omar, thanks for correcting me on this, man, because I think I said Larry Anderson. Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson, yeah.
Larry Johnson is a legendary defensive line coach at Penn State and now at Ohio State. And I see you, boy. I passed one. Jermaine Berkeley, I got you. I see your request. I got the extra hat for you. Man, send me email us, luckyleftypod@gmail.com. Email me your information. I'll get the hat out to you. David Jones. Yeah, Malik, do you think Saban and Urban Meyer on the golf course more than they are involved in recruiting?
No, I think Saban and Urban are locked in, because it's the reason why I feel like that, and a lot of it is because look at how they didn't turn out in the NFL. If you golfing and stuff all the time, the NFL is a great place for you because you're not as crazy about winning as these guys are.
Yeah.
Nick and Urban are crazy about winning to
Yeah.
where they're like power maniacs. So when you get in a situation like NFL, there's no chance in hell it's working because there's different motivations at that level, one. And two, you dealing with a different type of a guy. You got guys that got families and all type of situations to where it's bigger than just winning. In college, you can get that off because those kids are trying to get somewhere. So for Urban and Nick, that's the perfect place. And they're more like that because of how they're successful in college and how it's such an extreme opposite at a professional level. That's how I know they're serious about winning. They ain't thinking about no golfing for real. I mean, they'll go golfing, but they're not golfing as much as Brian Kelly.
Right.
Brian Kelly probably got a great handicap right now.
Right. I hear Nick Saban is pretty good at golf. But he probably uses the off season.
Yeah, he's using his time allotted. But
Right.
other than that, he's recruiting. Like he said in the interview, he recruit 24/7, man. He don't stop recruiting.
He probably has a golf course in his backyard as big as his crib.
He probably live on the golf course. He got a house better than the governor in Alabama.
Man, Rich Dutcher, thanks for tagging in. With all the talent we have at quarterback right now, that's the big one. Can Tommy build up these guys, or do we need a good quarterback coach?
Because when you saying something like that, that's saying like we're Lincoln Riley talent. Like we got Lincoln Riley talent in that room. And that's like Spencer, Caleb, and even that backup dude was solid that they had. But do we have that with Jack, Tyler, and Drew Pine? I think I don't know. But go ahead. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see immense talent in the quarterback room.
I think there's good quarterback play. I think we get good production out of that room. But talent is like you winning the game by yourself. I can't see Jack winning the game by himself.
No. Yeah, you're right. Matt 2011 GT. Yes, I'm part of that generation, yo. I hear somebody else say it, and I'm like, okay, I can repeat that. So that's how I say Junior 2 Alamaka. That's how I say it. Like, I get it done. How is Prince Collie developing?
He was a Jalen Sneed to me, right? He was supposed to be Jalen Sneed 2 type player.
But see, we talked about it. Like, we saw it in that Virginia game, right?
He just was too hesitant,
He was hesitant. He wasn't playing. I don't know what he was looking for. He was like concentrating, looking for keys, and he just wasn't being aggressive and coming downhill. Like, he's immensely talented. That's what
I'm saying. He looked the part.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, physically, he's there, fast, big, thinking too much.
And that's just, oh man, he gotta figure that out because if he can figure that out, he's like a Micah Parsons. He could be.
Man, he's just thinking too much. What will the offensive line look like against OK State with Quinn still coaching it, but everyone knowing that it's what's keeping this offense from being really explosive? Man, can I keep it 1,000 wow? I was up late Tuesday night, and they had the replay of the Big 12 championship game on. I'm not worried about this OK State defense, man.
No. Think about it. They're good
I'm really
against who
not.
they're playing.
I'm really not. I'm not. I'm not worried about this OK State defense. I'm really not. I don't think Notre Dame with Jack Cohn would just have to turn the ball over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have to lose this one. It's
Yeah.
not about,
Yeah.
Now it does. I do want to see how these young guys, especially that running back room, comes out because that's the way we're going to win this game is through that running back room. So it can take the pressure off Jack, so Jack doesn't have to feel like I have to put it somewhere where I can't get it or whatever. But yeah, this Oklahoma State defense is good against teams they played, which is other sorry Big 12 teams. So being ranked number one defense ain't saying much if you come out of the Big 12 because we know that the other defenses, the other teams aren't as stout, week to week.
And the reason I say that is because number one, their defense has been together. And then they got a freshman that can really rush the passer that made an impact. And he kind of elevated what they were, which was like a good defense. He elevated them. But to keep it real, they're slow. They're slow defensively. The linebackers are slow.
Yeah.
So if you can isolate by formation. The linebackers,
and that's a problem because if you slow at linebackers, ain't no chance you guard Michael Mayer.
None.
And if you giving us Michael Mayer, we're taking Michael Mayer.
Right.
Usually teams don't give it to us, but if you give it to us, we're going to take that.
But they don't like to take chances like that, right? Because they like to play together as a defense. They don't like to take those chances. They blitz occasionally, but Jim Knowles won't be there. So now that's the wild card. Like, whoever's in his stead, how is he going to attack? And that's something that I don't think this is the bowl game. So like in 15 practices, they're not about to totally just go off the rails and change their defense. So they'll stick to their principles. But just watching, like I said, watching that Big 12 championship game, I'm not worried about their defense. And I'm not saying the defense is horrible. Running the ball is going to be one of the most difficult things early on against them. Early on.
Yeah, you gotta get through that storm of it being a bowl game and a hype. Yeah. But we're built for moments like this. This is a bigger game for them than it is for us. We're just excited to see how we're moving forward. We ain't thinking like, oh, this is the historic game in Notre Dame history. No. I mean, it's a great game. It's a Bowl 6 game. But, I thought Ohio State's Fiesta game in 2015 was bigger than this one.
Johnny S., when a receiver said that he didn't see a place in Indy's offense, Tommy told him that there wasn't a game plan for him because he wasn't there yet.
Well, it depends on the receiver. I think there'll be game plans for Styles.
I mean, if a coach said that to me, I would take that as a compliment.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about the recruit. I would take that as a compliment.
We ain't got a player to put a game plan around.
We don't have nobody as good as you.
So, what you want? Well, you come and find out.
Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. Word? Okay.
Yeah, okay, sound like I'm about to be catching the ball, touching the rock when I get there.
Yeah, so the homesick stuff, and they talked about this on Irish Breakdown. I want you to talk about this, bro. The true difficulty, this is what makes Notre Dame unique. Rumors that Lorenzo Styles, Deion Colzie, and Logan Diggs are thinking about transferring, right? Talk about that first semester at Notre Dame, bro. Just talk about how much shock guys go through.
Look, Notre Dame's just not for everybody, man. And that first year's hard, especially if you're not playing as much as you feel like you should or as much as you seeing your peers play. But when you do get your chance when you playing, you're gonna be playing. Now, this is me speaking off of being with under a different head coach, but I would expect and think that playing under Marcus would be more fun, at least, and worth staying than it is under Coach Kelly. Because under Coach Kelly, you thinking, all right, I'm in control of my own destiny. This is all business. I gotta get in, get out, focus on what I need to, If I do the right things, I get right. I think some kids will enjoy being there and then playing under a program like that, more under Marcus Freeman. So, I don't really believe the rumors until they're true. And I don't know why Logan Diggs would think about leaving unless he just wanted to get 10 million carries every year. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
For me, once again, just looking at the game, I think Tommy's gonna have a lot to choose from, bro.
Yeah, Tommy got to get that.
It's a lot of ways. It's a lot of ways they can threaten and do damage against Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
They can't run with our receivers. They can't. They can't. They can't. I'm telling
I
you
think
that.
it'd be a fun game for Tommy because he knows that he can get what he wants. Considering that, he probably believe the same thing we do, that they're good, but they're not shut down good. But I thought Cincinnati got more brand name players than what Oklahoma State defense does, to where they're good versus good. They might win a couple, but you can win some individual matchups against this Oklahoma State defense.
Yeah. So my whole point to this is with that transfer portal stuff. Look, man, it's Notre Dame. Kids are always gonna start talking about Logan Diggs and Blake Fisher just tweeted. Blake Fisher tweeted something yesterday saying what can be something to your demise can be the thing that gives you the strength to be great. And Logan Diggs retweeted it and said, amen. So, dude, they're going through normal stuff at 18, 19. Just trying to be sure about what their future is. In my opinion, neither one of them go anywhere. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Deion Colzie, maybe. Marcus Freeman is not letting Lorenzo Styles Jr. and Logan Diggs go anywhere.
And he shouldn't let Lawrence Keys go nowhere either, because Lawrence Keys
absolutely.
Lawrence Keys real good too. Yeah,
If
he'll
Brian
solve a lot of receiver problems.
Maybe.
Huh?
Marcus Freeman isn't letting those kids off campus. I just don't see it.
He like, man, I'm doing all this flying. I'm definitely not about to let the chickens lead the coop. Right here.
No, there's no way. Because that's a conversation, and it's like, nah, you can't you can't let these. I wouldn't be shocked if Deion Colzie gets like all types of receptions in the bowl game.
Yeah.
You know what time.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing. Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you. You don't? No.
What is today's petty historic?
Yo, Petty Junction. Yep, right here. I see everybody drunk. Vigo, I see you put yourself on the petty train today. I want to put the trio of Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes on the petty train for making the Chargers feel like they really could win that game last night. They reeled the youngsters in and made them feel good about themselves and hit that switch.
Yeah.
Just on some petty stuff.
They made him a cake, let them smell it, and then threw it in their face.
Yo, you know who else can get the petty train? What's up with Brandon Staley, man? Is this high school football? Dude, take the field goals, man.
Take the field goal. He was playing Madden out there.
Wasn't he playing Madden?
He's like, you know what? We can get that 4-1. We ain't even point.
Like, fam, take his.
It was like points. 2 for 5 on 4th down. That's terrible. Get them points, man. Get them points.
And I'm gonna nominate myself for the petty train today. You know, Roddy Ricch album drops today, right?
That's right. I
don't give a darn. See that face? That face right there, LL Nation, is from a dude that's in California and has been infected.
That's crazy.
Let me tell you why.
The disrespect.
I have been thrown off the Roddy Ricch train, and I'm being petty today because all I do is hear Roddy Ricch on the radio every time I go to LA, all day, every day.
That's right. That's right. Because they warming you up for the new album. Because they're gonna be playing that.
LA radio made me hate Roddy Ricch. Facts. I can't stand Roddy Ricch because of LA radio.
But that's why we giving you new music, something to bump to different, you know.
Bro.
But I bet you know all the words though. You
No,
can't
I don't.
hate a man you know all the words to.
Dude, I mean his songs are catchy.
Yep.
So you'll definitely be humming them.
I know you.
But I'm still like I can't. And I hate that I'm humming his music. I give him props. But he has some hits. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying LA radio made me hate the kid. Or hate his music. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair.
So I have to be petty today. His project comes out today. I don't care. I'm not listening to it.
Until you come out of here.
We'll be doing, and we'll be talking about it Monday. I'm going to see my guy Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that's a must. That's a must. Hey, everybody watching, that's what you got to go do on the weekend. Go see
might see it twice. It's that bad. Yeah, might see it twice because I heard that is really a lead up to the new Doctor Strange as well. So
and they said everybody loves it.
Man.
So I'm excited.
You know, I'm that dude that will stand up in the theater and clap, bro. At the end, like,
yeah, they saved somebody at the end. You clapping at the end of the movie like it's a real theater show or something.
Right?
Hell no.
Yo. Hey man, somebody's saying, are you gonna send Coach Alfred some whiskey and get him to come to Notre Dame?
If that's in the recruiting package, I'll definitely send him some for sure.
Now, CD Beasy, this is when, look, first of all.
Gee, you listen to that Sosa? Okay.
Hey,
Sosa is an OG legend, man. You can't disrespect Sosa.
It's a real question because I'm not a Chief Keef fan. That's number one. That's an assumption by DBZ just because I'm from the Chi. I didn't say I don't listen to Roddy. I said LA radio because I have to go out there
made you
multiple times. They make me hate Roddy Ricch because that's all they play all day.
All they play.
So I don't care about the new album. I mean, eventually I'll get to it, but I'm not jumping it on it today. I'm just not. I don't care.
Because you're going to hear it 50 times when you come out here, for sure.
And I'll say this. I don't care. I'll rep the Chi. Finito is better than any song Roddy Ricch has ever put out.
Yeah, that's a classic. That's damn near up there with the Michael Jackson hits.
Finito and Don't Like.
Oh, yeah.
Chief Keef has two songs that Roddy Ricch has yet to match.
That's true. That song's a classic through generations. I might even get a vinyl off of that mom.
Dude, thanks for everybody that joined in today. This has been the Lucky Lefty podcast, man. We hope you enjoyed us going over the ways that Marcus Freeman can build his staff and get the program to the next level. We gave you 5 examples, and subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, let other people know. It's the new fresh. We're the kids on the block when it comes to Notre Dame football and podcasting. We spin it different right here each and every day. We want you to spin it different today as well in your life. So for my guy, Malik Zaire, I'm Shaun Davis. Have a great weekend. Don't spend too much money out in the malls. And we'll see you Monday.
See you Monday, baby.
Yes, sir.